Okay, hello. So, I thought I would do a quick review. Oops, not the way I'd hoped. Of my Dragonborn Sacred Fist build. It's a little washed out. I'm gonna have to figure out how to fix that up a little bit. It doesn't look at all on the recording the way it does on my screen. Anyway, um, so this is gonna be pretty light walkthrough. There wasn't really a whole lot. This is more of a thoughts video than anything else. So Sacred Fist, what is it? It's not a paladin, and it's not quite a monk. It's something in between, although technically it counts as a paladin for your past lives. It is a charisma-based build, so what I did was I went with an 18 base charisma. It does require a lot of abilities, so I didn't have super high starting stats in any particular thing. So I started with 18 base in my charisma. I do have a +8 universal tome, 10 base strength, 15 base dexterity, which was the minimum to get to weapon fighting. There we go. You gotta remember it. 14 base constitution, 12 base intelligence, just so I had some skill points. Excuse me. And a wisdom base 11, just because that's the way the points worked out. I had to put it somewhere, so might as well go into wisdom. Anyway, and then of course all my level ups naturally went into charisma, so that wound up being a base 26, and then finally with all my stuff, I came up to an even 60 charisma at the end. So how was it? Well, at first I didn't honestly know what to make of it. It seemed pretty good. It's not quite as good as a Knight of the Chalice, I don't think, but the problem is in Sacred Fist. Sacred Fist is actually good. The problem is that hand wraps are bad. So what did I use? Well, let's see if I can go through my quick list of stuff here. I do have my Antipode Fist of the Horizon. This is the raid wraps that come out caught in the web. These are arguably the best wraps you can get after level 20. I do have Serenian wraps. Or I shouldn't say that's not Serenian wraps. I made Serenian wraps. I have Barovian hand wraps as well. I have the Crocodile Maw. I have the Epic Crocodile Maw. I also have the Dwarven Brawlers wraps. These drop in Tethumar. I forget which quest. I think might be Desire in the Dark, but don't hold me to that. These are kind of fun to have when you get them. I had Energized hand wraps. These are a legacy item that I made when I farmed out Temple of Elemental Evil. You can't get these anymore, but they're fun for a minute when you've got them. Epic Crocodile Maw, we just talked about that. Epic Eternal Rest. This one drops in Epic Catacombs. Again, don't ask me which quest precisely, but these are pretty good as well. Again, minimum level 23, so you can use these or you can use Antipode. Either or at that level is going to be fine. These are the Epic Ethereal hand wraps. You get these out of the Borderlands for the trade-ins. These are great. They are 3d6 base damage, which is cool, and they are adamantine, which is also cool because you don't inherently get adamantine bypass like a monk would. Eternal Rest, these are, again, out of the Heroic Catacombs. I guess it's pronounced Catacombs. Excuse me, so if anybody's spurting out at that, I realize it's supposed to be Catacombs. I've just called it Catacombs my whole life. Anyway, Fair Crystal hand wraps out of the Feywild. Again, Cold Iron bypass, which is handy. Crystal, meh. Hand wraps don't take damage from oozes, so really Crystal is kind of, unless you're going to fight a lot of quarry, which I didn't. These are the Morning Lord's hand wrap. Pick these up at level 29. Now this is where it gets interesting. I actually have Oath Blades. These are twin Oath Blades that I made ages ago. We'll talk about that a little later. Platinum Knuckles. This was so disappointing. Like, this has got to be the singular most disappointing item in the game. Either make this gloves or make this hand wraps, but don't make it both, because it simply is not good enough to be both. It simply isn't a good enough item. It takes both your hand wrap and your glove item, and that's just a non-starter. Hand wraps are bad enough as it is without punishing you for not having a set of hand wraps, which is literally what this is doing. And I mean, it's not giving you anything in spectacular. It gives you impact and spiked. Okay, transmuted platinum is really not all that wonderful. If they really wanted to make this good, they'd either up the damage dice significantly, they'd make it a higher multiplier, or they just make it hand wraps. Straight up, it's just this is really ridiculous in my opinion. Snowstar. One of the interesting things about Sacred Fist, you don't actually get a ranged option. So unless you take Drow or something else that will perhaps give you proficiency, you don't get a ranged option. Not only that, even if you take something that gives you a proficiency, because you are technically proficient with simple weapons, which means you can use a crossbow, but it is uncentering. The only centering weapons that you can use are shurikens or longbows and short bows if you have Zen archery, but then you have to burn a feat on Zen archery. So they really need to figure out a way to either give you shuriken proficiency and just leave it at that, or figure out some other way to give you some kind of ranged option so that you're not centered. Like theoretically, you're supposed to replace that with the key bolt here. That's supposed to be a ranged option, but it is incredibly slow firing and hilariously low damage. So half the time, if you have to, you're just gonna eat the non-proficiency loss to use a shuriken. That's what I did because I couldn't figure out a better way to do it. Those are the Serenian hand wraps I finally got around to making. I never thought I'd need them, but I finally did. And then at low levels, if you go into, I want to say it's not obstructing the orcs, it's captives, I believe it's called, in the Cerulean Hills, and you farm the one chest at the bottom, they will eventually drop the Weeping Hand Wraps, and that's +2 Screaming with a slot. Not bad. Nice little item for hand wraps. So that's all I did for that. As for the rest of it, it is whatever you got up until level 3. Full assault armor set at level 3. Make sure you've got a dock worker's outfit. So you have to farm that out if you don't have one. Level 5, you switch to your Feywild gear. Level 10, you switch to your Barovian gear. Honorable mention some Dread Isle stuff to fill in the gaps. What I had, my beloved Firemouse diving helmet, which I think is hilarious. Also, it's underwater action and whatnot, so that's your replacement for Marsh Walker boots if you don't have them. And then other than that, at level 15, the standard part of the family set, so the turncoat, robes, family recruit sigil, and what's the last one? The Hammer Fist. That was actually, I'm at level 32, I'm still wearing the Hammer Fist, if that tells you anything. Cannith Combat Infusion, Insightful Double Strike, Insightful Deadly. Honestly, there really isn't anything better to put in your hand slot. And, you know, unless there's like a piece of raid gear I don't know about. Bronze Dragon Skull Belt, wore that right up to level 27. These are a fantastic item. Moonrise Bracers. I'm not certain where these drop. I think it's Reach for the Sky. Again, don't hold me to that. But they are balanced key strike. That doesn't mean anything to you as a Sacred Fist because that's purely a monk item, but it does give you enhanced keys, so you're getting additional key. Reinforced Fist, that's great for your hand wraps. Concentration 16. I wore these right up until like level 27, simply because I didn't have another way to get concentration, and concentration is your stable key. So whatever your concentration score is, like here, that is how much stable key you can hold. So my concentration is 82, my stable key is 82, in case anybody didn't know. So that means that my key will, if I have it, it will only reduce down to 82 and not below that until I use it. So that's basically your store of key. But yeah, these were fantastic right up until like level 27, at which point I got out my Epic Belt of Thought for Remembrance. This drops out in Epic Orchard. Don't recall which quest it is. Fairly certain it's Fleshmaker, but don't hold me to that. And the reason is it's Deathblock 7, Constitution 11, Concentration 20, which is the big deal for this build, and Resistance 11, Dodge 11, Greater Regeneration. I have it slotted with Sapphire of Natural Armor, so that's pretty rad. I did swap in eventually. I was using an Epic Ethereal Ring, but at level 23 you really kind of don't need it anymore, so I simply got the Epic Ring of the Archbishop, which again drops in the Epic Catacombs somewhere. I'll add that in as a tag when I finally figure out where it is. And that's Wizardry 220, Heal 18, Healing Lore 18, Devotion 122. This is a great item. You do need your heals. I never actually found a slot for Cure Serious on this build, although I found that I didn't really need it as much as I did on some of the other builds, so meh. Other than that, this is an epic Saltmarsh set. I wore this from 20 to 27, or actually 20 to 32, excuse me. Crocodile skin boots, epic salt pearl ring slotted with a diamond of charisma. So that was my charisma item from 20 to 32. The other stats don't really matter. Epic Dockworkers outfit, fantastic item. Farm this out, make it epic if you can. Resistance 8, healing amp 38, dodge 9, fortification 111, fantastic. Epic amethyst loop, true seeing is really what I wanted this for. Blindness immunity is also fantastic. Search and spot are nice. Nice to see things coming. Reflex 9. Epic spike turban, this is great. Shield 9, protection 8, resistance 8, physical sheltering 24. Shield and protection with resistance, hard to find anywhere else. Not really a better option for a hat, so I just use this. Epic lizard tooth necklace, strength 9, shatter 11 is meaningless, melee alacrity 15% is great. Insightful seeker +4, relentless fury also fantastic. Best melee item in the game is the epic bloodstone, seeker 9, deception 7, accuracy 15, deadly 8, slotted with my master's gift. Epic sailcloth, dexterity 9, insightful deception 3, accuracy 15, deadly 8. These are largely redundant. So if you didn't have an epic bloodstone, I don't know why you wouldn't, because you can simply buy these with bronze tokens now. So farm yourself one of these if you don't have one. It is bound to account, so you can pass it around. But yeah, if you want, you can make this redundant with different hats and stuff. But I really wanted the AC, and of course, this was the last one. My forever on Quiver of Alacrity. This is the reason why I was able to get away with swapping this out. With the Quiver of Alacrity, there's my striding. With this, that's my melee alacrity, so it's gold, right? So I'm not worried about that too much. Brewing hand wraps, obviously. Epic Elemental Victory cosmetic, always on. Violet Leaf outfit, in case you were wondering. And of course, my Deathwalker Sash 8, which gave me this kind of Superman look I'm working right now. Other than that, it pretty much handles... I want to say it handles like a Knight of the Chalice, but it really doesn't. It kind of is somewhere between a monk and a Knight of the Chalice. It's odd because you feel like you're driving a monk, but it doesn't do the things a monk does. One of the things I noticed the most was the lack of abundant step and the lack of jump. You still have a paladin jump skill, so get yourself some jump pots or a jump item because you're going to need it. Other than that, more or less similar to like a Knight of the Chalice with two weapon fighting. It's hard okay. Like, it's not super rad, but what is super rad that I did not expect currently, and I don't even have like maxed out past lives or anything. My armor class is 171. The armor class blew my mind how high my armor class got. So this is, if I was going to say anything about Sacred Fist, I would say that it is something of an AC evasion tank, kind of, because its DPS is a little better than that, and it's not truly a tank, so it's more like an off-tank kind of thing, but still extremely survivable. I did die stupid in a couple of places, but like, that was more player error than anything else. One of the things you do notice, that I noticed at least, was how hilarious, like right now my magical resistance rating is 75, but that's only because I took the level 32 enhancements. It was 50 up until this point. You will run smack face first into the wall of the physical and magical resistance cap on this build. Just be aware of that. It is a full base attack bonus build, but you are going to absolutely run face first into that. So that's why your AC gets so high. You want stuff to miss you. So you want dodge chance, you want blur, you want concealment, you want ghostly, whatever it takes to not get hit, because if you get hit, you're gonna get dinged up. That being said, you do still have lay on hands, you do have renewal when you get to epics, so that does help a little bit with mitigating the damage. And then the other thing that I will talk about, which surprised the poo right out of me, are two things. Actually, can I go to my spells, my universal spells? Okay. First off, I got gripes. Sacred Flame Empowerment. This is adding basically imbue dice. Upon cast, you're empowered with holy magic, granting you +3 imbue dice allowing your critical hits to deal 1d20 bane damage per bonus imbue dice scaling with 100% of your melee power. Pretty cool, except it lasts at like level 32, it lasts 20 seconds. It's a 20-second buff. Like, it's just preposterous that it's that short. It's not that great, and especially because if you're using hand drops, especially, you've got the worst weapon with the worst critical profile in the game, and so even with the violence begets violence, stacking up, for those of you who don't know, violence begets violence is your enhancement. Where is that here? I'm gonna scroll down and type. Man, there's a lot of these things. Violence begets violence. While centered, while an opponent misses you in melee, you gain a +1 critical threat range for 6 seconds. It stacks up to 5 times the reset. So basically, if you get missed 6 times, because it doesn't just proc on melee, it will also proc on ranged attacks as well. So if you get that, it's basically expanding your critical threat range, which is cool, but you got to get missed first. And once you start getting into high epics, a lot of stuff doesn't miss. A lot of stuff is still getting grazing hits and everything else. So that's not actually proccing your violence begets violence. Even with like 170 AC, they're still tagging you, especially Reapers. I shouldn't say that. It's surprisingly, the Reapers probably spent the most time missing of anything. But a lot of the trash mobs are just they're gonna hit you with grazing hits or cleaves or whatever. So whatever mechanic they're using, they're still hitting you despite the fact that they're not doing a lot of damage. So just be aware of that. But anyway, so it's good. The spell, so Sacred Flame Empowerment is good. However, it is hilariously short. So they either need to make this completely scale for like 10 seconds a caster level or something, because 20 seconds is just way too short. And because it's going with something with a really bad critical range like that, bane damage is not helping you a whole lot, especially because that's not, what is that, d20 per bonus imbue dice, so 3d20 maybe. That's not a lot of extra damage, even if it is scaling with melee power. That aside, Key Bolt, also this is supposed to be your ranged option. It does add your imbue dice and stuff, but it's still terrible. Here is the interesting thing. I thought that this was going to be a significant problem, like it is with most two-handed or two-weapon fighting builds, is that you don't have AoE. That's not the case with a Sacred Fist. You have Incinerating Wave, and then eventually you will get Key Explosion. And from what I can gather, so I'll just read this off for you. Creates an incinerating wave of key fire. This effect is 4 to 9 fire and force damage per caster level, scaling with 300% melee power. I have read through this several times. To the best of my knowledge, it does not have a saving throw. It can be quickened, for the record. Nothing else applies, but you can quicken it. So this just goes off and they just take it in the face. It doesn't have spell resistance or any of that. And it also adds your imbue dice as well, as if I'm not mistaken. And the other one is Key Explosion. Waves of fire emanating from your body, and 4 to 6 fire and force damage per caster level to enemies in vicinity, scaling with 300% melee power. For 20 seconds after you cast a spell, you benefit from Fire Shield Hot, which presents 50% of incoming cold damage and deals with a small amount of fire damage to enemies that strike you in melee. Again, read through this multiple times. To the best of my interpretation, it does not have a saving throw. So basically what that means is you're going to be tossing out, what does that work out to? D6 plus 3? And then this is also D6 plus 3. That's D6 plus 3 fire, D6 plus 3 force, and then your imbue dice all on top of that. And wow, that just wipes rooms out. It absolutely, I couldn't believe how effective it was at just wiping out hordes of mobs. Things that would have made me kind of raise an eyebrow on a Night of the Chalice, I just ran right into the middle of them. Whirlwind Kick, followed by the Greater Whirlwind Kick, followed by my Key Explosion, and then by the Incinerated Wave, and then the Key Explosion. It just wiped out in rooms full of stuff. I was just dumbfounded by how well it worked, and like right up to level 32 was really impressive. The Whirlwind Kicks, fantastic animation, never gets old. That being said, it's got its uses. Again, the main thing is I think this is the Avenging Whirlwind. It is. that procs vulnerable, so you want to keep working that into your rotation because it keeps stacking up vulnerable. So what I used to do was just run into a thing, do the Avenging Whirlwind, proc the vulnerable, then set off the key explosion, then set off the exalted, excuse me, the incinerating wave, and then the key explosion. When I got to epics, you get Drifting Lotus, and you can drop a Drifting Lotus at the end if there's still something standing around. But like usually there's one or two, so you just take a swat at them, and that's the end of it. So that was really great. So it does have good AoE, which you kind of have to wait a bit to get, because I think you only get it at the earliest you get it at level 14, but you want Holy Sword at that point, so take that with a grain of salt. So you're looking at like 16 or so before you finally get it. But man, when you get it, you start wiping out rooms. But even until then, your Whirlwind kicks plus Incinerating Wave are more than enough to do your AoE. So that was a nice surprise that you actually had some AoE. And I promised I would talk about this. What happened was I hit level 20, and one of the problems, remember I said that Sacred Fist isn't bad, but hand wraps are. And the problem is you hit level 20 and you've got like none options for hand wraps. You've got your ethereal hand wraps that you can get out of Borderlands. You've got the Crocodile Maw if you manage to make it. You've got grave wrappings, but you can't use the grave wrappings because they've got Taint of Evil, so you're taking a negative level to ever use to use those. So you're kind of up the creek. And if you don't have Antipode at level 23, or you didn't manage to farm out Eternal Rust or something in the Catacombs, then you're hooped. So what do? Well, you can tough it out until about level 24 if you don't have anything. Because again, Antipode is nice, but like, it's hardly better than the ethereal wraps. So when you hit level 24, what I did is I took Sovereign Host Blessing, gives me Longsword as a favorite weapon. Then over here, I took Lotus Blades Longsword, that gives me the Whirling Steel Strike, so I stay centered with longswords. And then I took Knight's Training, if I'm remembering this correctly, which gives me the expanded critical threat range. And then I just use my Oath Blades. So I use my Oath Blades from 24 till 29, and they were absolutely unequivocally a superior weapon in every way to hand wraps. Just not even close, not even a contest. Especially specifically the Oath Blade, which is already a fantastic weapon, because there's not a lot of awesome longswords, but anything is better than hand wraps at that point, and you do have more options for longswords than you do for hand wraps. So that's exactly what I did. And if you've not seen it, this is what the whirlwind looks like. So that's what I did. I used my Oath Blades until I hit 29. At 29, I ran out to the Barovian Wilderness and got myself the Morning Learned hand wraps, because at that point the math works out that the hand wraps are again better. And I used those instead. And then that was the end of it. Standard feats. So what I took was 2 weapon fighting all the way through. I took improved critical bludgeoning. I took Empower Healing, which down here in this corner is pretty small. You can't see, but it's always on. You don't use enough spell points to worry about turning on your Empower Healing. I didn't take that until level 18 anyway. I did have Extend at one point, and I swapped Extend out. I believe I swapped Extend for Knight's Training when I got to Epics. So use your free feat if you want to do that. And then I took Discipline at level 27, which I probably shouldn't have done, because it was written into the Grandmaster of Flowers feats or whatever. It didn't make much of a difference at the end of the day, but does help a little bit. Otherwise, epic feats, overwhelming critical. And then, let's see, what did I actually take? Deific Warding, Double Strike, Font of Life, Perfect 2-weapon fighting, epic damage reduction, overwhelming critical, Scion of Arborea. I was using Brace, Double Strike, Fast Healing, Energy Criticals, which is meaningless, but it helps, I guess, maybe, for my Incinerating Wave, I don't know. And then more Double Strike from my ASMR. And that's about it. So that's basically how I work this out. I do like the fireball hands. That's pretty cool. To have a quick look, most of the points for my build went straight into Sacred Fist, so I have 51 points actually in Sacred Fist. This is an expensive tree. I don't know why they made it so expensive. These are 2 points of rank for Exalted Smite. I don't know why. So a lot of these things are very expensive for reasons I have yet to determine. Anyway, I didn't actually take the double strike out of here. I put 8 points into Vistani Knife Fighter, took the Undead Hunter just so I could get up to Haste Boost, which is the best axe boost in the game. And then the rest of the points were in the Sacred Defender tree, all the way up to Reinforced Armor. I didn't take the fast movement, which I normally do. It wasn't necessary to get fast movement out of here, so you can kind of have a look at how I did this all the way up to one side, then all the way across the top, and then you'll always get fast movement whenever you can. And then you want the offhand strike chance. And then I took this all the way up to the level 12 core, just for the physical magic resistance, and so I could use the scrolls without any UMD failure. You do have access to the Radiant Servant tree. I don't know why. Like, I don't know what this is supposed to be giving me that I care that much about. I'm like, again, maybe I could have pulled some points out of here and put them in here, but I can't imagine for what. Like, maybe work your way up to Unyielding Sovereignty, but that's an expensive buy. It's like you got 12 points in this tree just to get to Unyielding Sovereignty, and I don't know that there's anything below here that helps you that much. So I don't know. Like I say, if there was something in here, I missed it. I just couldn't figure it out. Up until this was at the very end, I actually had just a single point in Inquisitive up until there, and then I respect out of it. So I found there was like a playing around with it, just so I could find something that worked. But I definitely wanted the points in here. I don't consider any of the things I took to be debatable. So like maybe this, I don't know. There's a reason why I took this, and I forget what it was. Probably because I needed to make the break point for the last one of the cores or something. I'm not sure why I needed that, but single point. But like, again, most of this stuff, I do have gripes about Divine Striker. You gain on Vorpal, Stunning Demon, or Devil with no save for 3 seconds. You gain plus 25% confidence bonus to maximum HP. That's great, but the Stunning Demon or Devil sucks. Like, that's exactly not as good as the Knight of the Chalice one that stuns any evil or chaotic outsider, which would include what do you call it, Reapers. And it's so like, what the hell's the point? You know what I mean? You're not going to see, after the demon fight, you're not going to see any more demons. Like, I didn't. After that, there's like none. So, and devils, you stop seeing devils in like the mid game. So again, they really need to make this like basically exactly the same as the one from Knight of the Chalice, because otherwise that's just lame. Like, it just never procced. The 20, we're basically taking that for the competence hit points. 9 AP spent in here because I have 9 AP. I took physical resistance, natural armor, hit points, fortitude save, yeah, whatever. And that's about it. Wasn't terribly exciting. If we go to my epic build, again, try to keep this as succinct as possible. All the way across the top in Grandmaster of Flowers, Full Delight of Chaos, Drifting Lotus Bloom. I didn't really invest a lot in this. Had I done so, the stun does proc. It does have a decent DC. I just didn't invest in it. Had I done more, it would have worked a lot better than it did, but whatever. Clarity of Law for bypass. 3 ranks Flickering Flame, 3 ranks Catch the Wind, because again, this is like an AC tank, so you want your AC as high as possible. Also gives you dodge bonus. Hail of Blows, offhand strike chance, 10% strike through, prevent double strike and double shot. Again, Lotus Blade, so I can use Longsword. Dance of Flowers, Grandmaster of Flowers, Dance City Mantley, Westman Steel, +1 weapon die. Drifting Lotus. Serenity, obviously that's the thing. Wholeness of Spirit. You expend 50 ki to bring your mind, body, and soul into harmonious balance, restoring health as if you were affected by the benefits of the heal spell, as well as curing all ability damage. See, I completely forgot I had that. I don't even have that on my bar. That's embarrassing. I probably should have like tossed that up right there. Whoopsie. Anyway, so that worked out pretty well. And then the rest of these points, 7 points in here just to get to renewal. I always take first core, last hope, second core, energy resistance, 2 of this to get the fortification, and then renewal. That's it. And then the points I had the first 3 cores, Divine Smite, Endless Smiting, Strike with Poise, Had I thought this through more, I would have realized the strike with poise was not doing me not that much good. I think this was just for the favorite weapons are now considered implements in your hands automatically. And that was the Sovereign Host to get me the longsword as a favorite weapon. So there we go. That was what gave me proficiency with longsword, I think.
2 hours later.
And my consecration, 2 points in here. That's about it. So nothing terribly exciting went on here. But that's it. So Sacred Fist works pretty well. Again, it has a lot more AoE, so it's like an off-tank 2-weapon fighting hand wrap with good AoE. So you can, you can actually kind of substitute as a trash sweeper if you want, because it does take out a lot of trash. The incinerating wave, as far as I know, just goes until it hits an obstruction. It has infinite range. So it does, however, operate on a flat plane. Like, it doesn't creep along the surface. So if you jump and use it, it will clear the heads of stuff. It goes out straight around you. So just be aware of that you want to be on the same plane as the maximum number of mobs when you set it off. The key explosion is a fireball basically centered on yourself, and it goes in every direction. But other than that, it's pretty good. Would I say it's better than Knight of the Chalice? No, it is harder to gear up and wrangle. I wouldn't recommend this as a first life build. Paladin is much simpler, but it's definitely fun if you've got some other stuff to play around with. I would probably do, if I was doing this again, I would probably do it as a quarterstaff build. It's just much simpler to do the 2-weapon fighting. It's just, again, the class isn't bad, hand wraps are bad. So that's why you're just looking for an option to get away from hand wraps absolutely as early as possible. I went hand wraps through most of this, and even I couldn't make it all the way there. Like, I could have done it, just would have been much slower. And I wanted to get through this quickly, so that's my takes on it. Sacred Fist, pretty good. Give it a try. Be aware of its limitations, be aware of its strengths, and you're good to go. So I am going to go clear my cache out, and I am going to TR. I hope you got some value out of this. Other than that, I will see you next time.